This is Deep Dive into Joy, and I'm your host, Gina Rickner. Hey, Joy listeners, it's your host, Gina Rickner. Welcome back to Deep Dive into Joy, the podcast where we talk about everyday life, health and wellness, and our own personal testimonies where God shows up in the midst of our storm. Today's episode is a tender and powerful one. We're welcoming a woman who has walked through one of life's deepest heartbreaks, the loss of her daughter, Katrina. Her story is one of unimaginable grief, but also it shows incredible faith, resilience, and the way God has met her in the valley. She's here to share her personal testimony, not because it's easy, but because she knows there's healing in honesty, strength in vulnerability, and hope in pointing others back to God, who holds us even in our darkest moments. It's an honor to sit with her today and listen as she shares her journey of loss, faith, and the ways she still found glimpses of joy in the midst of sorrow. Please join me in welcoming Tammy Seaburn to the podcast. Hi, Tammy. I know it's not easy sharing things like this, but I personally am so thankful that you're here and sharing it. Before we get into the episode, I do like to ask a fun little question to everybody. What's your favorite drink?
Iced tea.
Everybody's tea. Everyone I ask is sweet tea, iced tea.
Yeah.
I
drink hot tea, but I prefer iced.
See, I'm a hot tea person now, going through my diagnosis.
I drink coffee.
Yeah, so, I do too.
But I prefer, out of all the drinks, is water and iced tea.
Yeah, I think the main two I've had are everyone's coffee or tea. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know sharing something like this is deeply personal and it's not easy. So I want to take a minute to honor your courage and your heart, first of all. And I'd love to start by giving you space to share your story in your own words. Like, can you take us back to the time in your life and what your journey looked like since losing your daughter, Katrina?
Well, thank you, Gina. I'm very pleased and honored to be here. And to share with you and listeners Katrina's story, my story, and how God's grace brought me through a huge tragedy and trauma to me. My name is Tammy Seaburn. I grew up with a family of 3 other siblings and a mother and a father in a little town called Olanta, which is just outside of Curvensville. I went to school at Curvensville and graduated from Curvensville. From there, I received a degree from Penn State in medical science. I got a license as a medical lab tech, and from there I worked in Clearfield Hospital in the lab for quite a while, and during that time I met my ex-husband now, but a man, and we married, bought a home in Curvensville and on Wendy Hill. And believe it or not, it's like 38 years later, and I still live in that home there.
Wow.
Unfortunately, my marriage didn't last. It lasted for 9 years, but I did receive a gift that was beyond any measure that I could have ever imagined, and it was receiving a daughter. Her name was Katrina. I had 4 pregnancies, and at the age of 30, I finally had my gift, Katrina. She was 6 pounds, 13 ounces, and just everything I could ever ask.
A little tot.
As a mother. You just can't even describe the feeling inside of loving somebody that much. And they're so tiny, but they've lived in you, and you are part of them, and they are part of you. And God granted me that wonderful gift. I know there are so many mothers and parents out there that can't, and do not have children, and they want children in the worst way. But God will bless you in other ways. And that's how I always looked at it. But I was very, very lucky to have her. I could actually say the only thing with Katrina after her birth was she had a undeveloped digestive system for a few months, but after that issue went away, she just thrived and grew and active, and she just wanted to experience everything in this world. Um, she started baton twirling at 5 years old, and it was something that she never put down. It was one of those gifts that God gave her, and she wanted to master everything about it that she could. She also wanted to share her talents with others and teach them, which she did. She mentored a lot of younger girls and taught them how to twirl. But twirling just wasn't enough for her. She was so busy, so busy, so busy. She had to do sports, and I swear she did every sport you could think of. Eventually, Mom says, "Hey, Katrina,
Slow down a little bit.
yeah, well, you can't do them all.
Yeah.
You don't have time to do them all, and you can't play them all." So, as time went on, when she got into, her more middle school, high school, she had to start making choices as to what sports meant more to her. She chose basketball and she chose volleyball. Of course, twirling never stopped. And she did competition twirling. I know probably from the age of 10 to the time she was 22. She became an international baton twirler champion. She went to nationals numerous times. She'd been to Disney down in Florida at their ESPN competitions. She traveled all over with her twirling, and she could throw 3 batons like they were nothing and put fire on them and still throw them and not even think anything of it. She totally amazed me. And her sports, she did softball and she did soccer and all those too, but she
Twirling was her passion, yeah.
Yeah, was in basketball and was in volleyball. Of course, she lettered. From 9th grade on, that's where she played varsity. After graduating from Curvensville in the top 10 of her class, she decided she wanted to go to Clarion and take accounting. And I was proud of her. I beamed. I was just so in awe of all her accomplishments and things that she did, and how much she helped other students, mentored other students. When she was in Clarion, she was in Kappa Kappa Psi, and it's a band fraternity, and they actually mentor. Littles is what they call them. And she had 4 littles that she was mentoring through college.
Wow.
And it made her feel, and I know this for a fact, it made her feel good to share and make others feel good about their self. Help them exceed what they think they are. Give them confidence in what they're doing. That was Katrina. That's what she wanted to do. And she did it well. She did. For her graduation from Curvensville, and doing so well, I offered her a trip overseas with others that were going from the school, or she could have a graduation party. And she chose to go overseas. She spent 17 days in Ireland, Scotland, Paris,
wow.
Great Britain. Yeah, she got to see.
What a dream.
Yeah. She lived more of her life in her 22 years than I did in all of my years. I'm not going to give you my age.
You don't have to.
But during college, as parents, we are always there, and I did. I was out Clarion all the time. Of course, she was a majorette captain, and she was on the field during fall, and then she created the indoor majorettes, and so they
Wow.
did performances all the time and all the time, year round. But she would come home every summer, and she would work here at home at Kurtz Brothers in Clearfield. And she would even, as she years went on, would come home during Christmas break and would go and work for them. And she wasn't afraid of work, that's for sure. And she was quite a busy girl. When she left Curvensville to go to Clarion, she was dating a young man from Curvensville, and the relationship lasted to her freshman year. That next summer, things changed, and they decided that, it was time that they went their separate ways because he was younger than her, quite a bit, actually. And she went back to college her sophomore year, single. And that is when she met Damien. It was at a Halloween get together with several friends that they, hung out with. And she dated him through till May, and then they broke up, and she came home, and she worked, and she went back again in the fall. And it seemed that each fall, like her junior year, she actually got an apartment with another girl off campus. And I could tell when he was around. Her disposition was guarded. She was more, I would say, defensive of him. And I could tell. And I would ask her, "Are you with him again?" "Well, we're just friends. We're just talking. We're just friends." And I do know that she helped him immensely while her time was there, with employment, with his driver's license, different things that she just genuinely, who she was, would help somebody. March 1st, 2017 changed my life forever. I died that day, the same day my daughter died. And a new Tammy was put forth. I know that day will never leave my mind. Every minute, every word, everything that transpired that day, that evening, is embedded in my brain. My daughter was broken up with this boy, Damien, but she still, because of who she was, would do things, would be around him. They had a lot of things in common. Katrina wasn't only an athlete and a baton twirler, but she loved the environment. She went hiking and fishing. She was such a awesome fisherwoman. Oh, she would challenge her uncles and them to fishing. That's how good she was. She loved being outdoors, and that's where you would find her when she come home. She wasn't a bar person. That wasn't in her. That just not something that interested her, or even dances and that. No, it was the outdoors. And it was doing everything outdoors. And like I said, Damien and her had a lot in common that way. which gave her peace at being away from home, and her friends there in Clarion weren't that way. She would go frog hunting and take pictures of tiny little frogs and that. I mean, she loved the outdoors. And she hunted, and she was an archery hunter, and she did all those, and she did archery shoots. She actually brought a turkey home to me.
Wow.
That she won at a turkey shoot in archery. She was proud, of herself and these things that she was accomplishing. But she thought she could help anybody, and that she was invincible, that, she wouldn't get hurt. And March 1st, I got a phone call while I was at work from Damien. And it was so muffled and chaotic that I knew at that moment something was not right. That something was happening that shouldn't be happening. And as many times as I would ask, I need to talk to Katrina, please, put somebody on the phone, talk to me, tell me what you're doing, what is happening. And all I could get was, I shot her. Finally, apparently his aunt, it was a woman's voice that came on the phone. And I said, please, please, tell me. And she says, well, she was shot in the chest. I said, is she still breathing? Is she able to talk? Anything? Well, I don't know, was all I would be told. And I said, please, for the love of God, please, put somebody on here that can tell me something. And then a gentleman came on. And it's a voice I'll never, ever, ever forget. I have dreams, nightmares, actually. And he said, ma'am. I said, yes. He says, she's gone. And the phone went dead. At that moment, everything died inside me. Everything. I felt that was the only thing I had in life. And it was the only thing that gave me life. It was hours and hours of trying to contact somebody, anybody there in Clarion, in Marionville, to please let me see her, let me come, let me hold her hand one last time. They refused. They told me her body was being sent to Erie for an autopsy, and that it was an accident. I waited 2 days before they came to my house and actually told me the story that he was driving her car and she was in the passenger seat. And when they pulled into the parking lot of a trailer park beside a trailer of his cousin's, that he had a loaded gun on the dash, and it slid off the dash, and when he tried to catch it, apparently unintentionally pulled the trigger, and it went off, hitting her in the chest and killing her of a gunshot wound to the chest. They took him to the station that night, and they talked to him for about 6 hours. And then they let him go to go home. When they came to my house 2 days later, they told me it was an accident, that I could be guaranteed it was an accident, that they would have everybody that they had in their power to be investigating, and that it was just a horrible, horrible tragedy. In my mind, I believed it 100%. In my mind, there was no way Katrina could have lost her life any other way. It had to be an accident. I knew things didn't sound quite right, but it didn't matter. It just did not matter. And several family members and loved ones said, you know, um, Tammy, it wasn't even her gun. It was his gun. Just pointing out little facts to me. I didn't care. It had to be an accident. Period. Over the next 2 weeks, little things progressed. And one of the biggest things was her bank statement came to the house. And when I opened the bank statement and started looking through and seeing that, her normal purchases were there, and the normal gas and that from Sheets, whatever. But then there was hundreds of dollars in cash being withdrawn from ATM over and over and over again. That wasn't my daughter. There was almost $2,000 in cash removed from her account within 20 days, all in 100 to 300 increments. Every day or every other day, or, it was frequent. All these hundreds of dollars went out of her account. When I brought it to the police's attention and sent them the copy, instead of questioning him and going and getting maybe video from the ATM, I don't know, they asked his dad. And his dad said, well, she liked to have money around and have money on her and give money and do things. My daughter was becoming an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
She had a minor in finance. She didn't throw money around. She never came from a family that ever had money.
Mm-hmm.
She was very, very tight with money. And that's what I was told, and that's as far as it went. They would not go any further about it. It was small things later on, and I knew that something wasn't quite right with it being an accident. I would call the state police wanting updates. I would email them, the investigating officer, please, all kinds of questions. Gunshot residue, inside the car, what kind of, and I was just blown off over and over again because I was not a victim. And I was told I was not a victim because it was an accidental shooting. I was told in May that they were going to basically write it up as accidental with what evidence that they had and talk to people. And I knew at that point something wasn't right. And I said, well, prove to me that it was an accident then. Well, they don't have to prove to me. Only they have to decide. Our justice is bad. It is bad. Mm-hmm. When it comes to really digging in and doing things, the easy way out is what happens. I knew I needed help. I knew I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to turn to. The Lord has always been huge in my life, my whole entire life, growing up as a child, teenager, clean through my 20s, and now it's in my 30s. in my 40s and now 55 years old.
Hey, you said you weren't going to tell your age.
No, yeah, well, that was a few years ago.
Okay.
But, at 55, um, it was 20, she would have been 25 years old. So prior to that 55 mark, because I had in my mind that 55 mark was going to be my retirement starting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I was 52 because I was 30 when I had her, and she was 22 when she passed. I was 52 when she passed. And I begged God, help me, help me, help me, help me. Show me. If this is true, show me it is true. During this time, my pastor and my family from the church and co-workers, friends, they had all reached out, been there for me, helped me, hold me, comfort me. They did all those. I mean, without the community, it would have just been a nightmare, a total nightmare. But my community was there for me, and everybody in it. I wrote 2 letters, one to Governor Wolf and one to Donna Oberlander, the representative at the time there in Clarion, begging that this case not be closed unless it can be proved that it is an accident. That's all I was asking for, is proof that it was an accident. Governor Wolf's office, Governor Wolf, contacted Marionville State Police and told them they could not close this case on an accidental unless they had him take a polygraph, and he passed, stating that it was accidental. They were furious. I was a horrible person. They degraded me, talked down to me. I wasn't even allowed near their station. All kinds of stuff. But my car sat there, or her car that she used, it was in my name. But it was evidence, so that's where it was at. They finally had a polygraph scheduled for him to take. They had tried to get him to take a couple prior, and he said he was too sick, too emotional, whatever. He couldn't do it. This time, he agreed to it, but he wouldn't do it there, at Marionville or Clarion. He wanted it done away from there. So they had it done in Ridgeway. And they actually brought in an officer that had been doing polygraphs for over 20 years. To me, that was the Lord that brought that officer to do that polygraph. He knew exactly what he needed to do to get Damien to come clean and confess that they were arguing in the car about money, and he lost his temper and pulled out a gun and shot and killed her. But his intentions was never to really kill her. After that confession, things changed a lot. They had to, of course, come and tell me, and now I became a victim. Oh, nothing really has changed except for that he actually said he did it. And now I'm a victim. And now I can be talked to and treated like I'm supposed to be. It made no sense to me whatsoever. They did allow, well, they came to the house They told me, and then they had a follow-up from another officer to the house, and he asked for her laptop. And her laptop was at home. It wasn't something that she had in her car or anything like that. It had been in her bags, and I had retrieved her bags and from her friends. And, you know, I had the laptop. Well, apparently they were wanting to go through it, which I didn't care. They had her phone. They had went through all of it, and his phone went through all of it. They took the laptop, and they did. They took everything out of it that they wanted and that. Then they wouldn't give it back. It sat on a shelf in evidence. And during the time before the trial, they had to collect evidence and they had to do whatever they do. They have all kinds of motions that people don't know about. They have omnibus trial. I'm sure nobody really, unless you're into law, knows what that means. Just preliminary hearing. They assign you an advocate. My advocate didn't even meet me. There was a lady from the domestic violence organization there in Clarion, SAFE, that sought me out. She had seen all the news and that on what was going on. And she came to the preliminary hearing. She introduced herself as Linda. She was my guardian angel that the Lord had sent me. She sat with me. She held me. She held my hand. She explained everything. She told me what things meant and how they worked. I just thank the Lord every day that she was in my life. She was what I needed to get me through that trial. And he knew that. And I recognized it. After several months, well, it was almost 2 years. It was December of 2018 that the trial went on. It was a 5-day trial. It was heart-wrenching. And after the trial was done, the jury found him guilty of third-degree murder. It was a cold day for me. I had known from his confession a year and a half earlier that he had intentionally killed her. But to this day, I still don't even know why. You can't lose your temper and kill somebody. There was had to be so much more to it. I will never know. And the Lord makes it sure that I don't need to know, apparently. And that's okay, because he knows. The sentencing wasn't until January. And for some odd reason, which I'll never understand, ever, minimum sentencing for third degree is 6 years. Maximum is 40. The judge, literally, in his statement, said if he could, he would keep him in county jail to serve his time. But because he was convicted of third-degree murder, he has to go to prison. What about Katrina, that he took her life? And he sentenced him 10 to 20 years. Was all. Bitter? Yes. Confused? Yes. It's hard when you fight oppositions that are so large and so big. There's nobody bigger than the Lord. And I know the Lord, truly, truly in my heart, I know He's the one that brought the justice for Katrina. It was not anybody there. Not a single soul. Yes, I was grateful for the 12 jurors that seen and knew and gave the right conviction. But the lasting outcome is that I will never, ever, ever touch, feel, hear, smell anything with my daughter until I go to heaven again. I'll never see her, never hear her, nothing until I join her in heaven. And I believe that the evil in this world and the evil that we accept as human beings led to what took my daughter's life. And God was there with open arms to take her to heaven. And I know she's in heaven because she had asked for to be saved. She asked Jesus for His blood when she was a teenager. And she walked with the Lord in her heart. And I know that's where she is. I know I will be there with her sometime. It's the evil, agony, pain, and everything here that we endure that is so hard to get past. And that is where we have to lean so much further into our precious Lord. Because He will give us joy. He will show us love. It is there. There is kindness in this world. There are things in this world that are grand. You have to follow Him in His direction and be part of Him and Him be part of you in order to receive them. I talk to Jesus every day, many, many, many times a day. I know I am His servant. I follow what He guides me to, what He shows me. And yes, there is so much heartache, but He has showed me so much joy and love. I mentioned the community. The community has wrapped their arms around me so many times. There has been so many people dedicated to Forever 22 for giving that of themselves so I may reward others, young men and women, girls, college age, scholarships, so I can speak on domestic violence and give awareness so people are aware of certain situations that can lead down an ugly path. I believe He has more for me, and more things to do. I get very impatient, but I thank Him every single day, every day, that the blessings that He did give me. He gave me 22 years of being a mother that I am so very grateful for. Those memories will never leave me. And it was truly Him that gave it to me. And I'm reminded of that. That's what keeps me strong each day. Stronger on some days than others. That's what keeps me going. Gives me the purpose. I am very grateful, especially today. Um, it has taken me 7 years in fundraising. Um, that all the donations, everything that we fundraised for, went to Katrina's scholarship that I have established at Curvensville Area School. And the committee that I have instilled to read and give the scholarships, vote for whoever, is the best. I don't want to do it. They
Yeah.
can do it.
That would be hard.
But I do present them. And I'm proud to present them in her honor and in her memory. And these are just some of the things that gives me great pleasure and joy. And I know the Lord has helped me do this. And it's honoring Him, being dedicated in His works, and paying it forward to those students that need a little extra to help them out while they're there in college, because it is so expensive.
Oh, yes.
And any little bit that you can do to help is good. And it's a good way to get the word out on domestic violence and on Katrina's story, and honor Christ through it. And we just endowed her scholarship at Curvensville School. And it just thrills me, gives my heart so much pleasure that it's there forever. Forever and ever now. Whether I'm here or not, it'll be there paying forward with her memory through Christ.
And that's the way we plant seeds.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
Yep. And from here, I just go forward and keep pushing, and doing more talk and more. I've helped people, just even personally talking with them on where to go, who to turn to. The Lord is always there. Prayer is massive. And prayer doesn't have to be down on your knees begging. Prayer is talking and having a relationship with your Lord and Savior. That's all it is. Prayer, you can ask for yourself and others, for the Lord's blessings and His strength and healing and different things that, that is on our minds. But it's a relationship that you build with Him. And as the days go on, you become closer and closer and closer. And it's His way. And it'll always be His way. And His way is the best way. And we, as a society, need to recognize that and just follow what He has for us. It would make the world such a wondrous, wondrous, wondrous place.
Sure would. Sure would.
But without the Lord, I would have never come this far. I would have never been a speaker. I would have never advocated for domestic violence. I mean, there was none in my home. It was me and her. I didn't even talk to her about it. So, even though 8 years ago, if you would have had me speaking then, yes, I can honestly say that trauma was really bad on me. It was really tough physically, emotionally, mentally. It was hard, and it's something you work through with the love of family, friends, God, church, your church family. These are the people that sustain you, build you up, and help you get through the most horrible of times. And the Lord never leaves you. He's always there, step by step.
You just have to pursue him.
No, you don't have to pursue him. He's there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's there.
I mean, we want to know more.
Yeah.
You know, as you get closer with him,
yeah.
It's just an automatic. You want to know more, and you want to be more with him. I think that's just a desire that happens to you. But it takes a force to conquer trauma. To the extent of some of this trauma that is happening to people. You know, children are disappearing from our world, from our country, and this happens daily. People are dealing with dementia, Alzheimer's. They lose loved ones that physically are still here, but mentally they're gone. That trauma is hard. I lost my sister to COVID. She was 52 years old is all. Five years ago. And it was one of the worst deaths I've ever seen. Watched her struggle and be defeated. Had to be a vet, and then she never came back from the vet. I also know she's with our Lord and Savior, and I miss her dearly. I have one other sister and a brother, but she was the baby. We deal with a lot of heartache, a lot of trauma through this world, through this thing called life. Some people are more lucky than others, and I do say it's luck that they don't experience the trauma that some have to experience. But it's still all God's plan. And we have to trust him.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
I know it's so hard sometimes.
You have
Tammy,
a beautiful cat, by the way.
Yeah. They like to interrupt sometimes. I know that this conversation was hard. I mean, even after 8 years, it's probably hard as it is.
It is. It never,
first aid,
it never goes away. It's in the brain. It's trauma. It is what it is.
Yeah. I also know that it's a beautiful thing to keep her memory alive, and, children are such a gift to us, and losing one is a battle that none of us would ever want to face in our life. And, I just pray over you, because your courage to just get out there and speak is, I don't even have the words for that. And, it's admirable and it's courageous, and, I just thank you for sharing that today. I thank you for keeping her memory alive, and
you're so welcome.
I know that my sister was very good friends with her, and I'm just going to keep praying over you that God keeps leading you. He keeps, giving you these places to speak
and
out for these people.
Better. There really isn't anything better. Prayer is the key. It truly is.
It is. Again, I want to thank you for coming on. I know that your words can bring someone comfort or encouragement. Maybe they're walking through the same thing or just a really dark valley. And what I'm reminded of when it comes to your testimony is that even in the deepest grief, God's presence never leaves us, like you said. And he's close to the brokenhearted, and he truly does bring light even into the darkest of places. For those listening, if you're carrying loss or heartache right now, I hope this conversation reminds you that you're not alone. even in pain, joy can still break through. Tammy, where can people donate to the scholarship fund, or when do you hold the fundraisers? Do you hold those
Every
the same
year,
time every year?
yeah, every year we've been doing a Forever 22 fundraiser, and it's usually in Grampian,
Okay.
at the Grampian Park. Um, they've been, Grampian, Penn Bloom, they have just been sent by God again. And it's a wonderful feeling. They donate the building to me, and it's huge. So, and there's a stage, and like I said, the bands, they're more than willing to come and donate their time. They're just always generous in providing and being participating in that. Friends, family, and supporters, all, will do. We'll cook. The big thing is for me, they and everybody that goes kind of like, you got to make your halushki. I make halushki every year, yeah, it's a big seller there. Anyhow, and then we get donations from local businesses and that, for the Chinese auction.
Okay.
Raffle. And between, that and the food and people just donating as they come through the door, because we don't usually charge. I mean, I'm not going to turn anybody away if they say, I don't have the money. Come, listen, because, and we try to do a genre of different, all kinds of music, country, Christian, we'll even throw in like a pop. Hardtack has been with me every step of the way, through everyone. BS Express has been there. They're from Altoona. And they support the domestic violence awareness. They talk about it. They support it. And that's all it is. It's just being aware.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're okay.
Awareness means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It truly does. When people actually think about it, like I said, it doesn't have to be physical. You don't have to have black eyes and that to be abused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be.
I feel like a lot of it is mental.
Verbal.
Abuse. Verbal. Yeah.
Verbal.
Yeah.
I mean, verbal abuse is really bad.
Yeah.
But then there's gaslighting, that goes along with verbal. There's all kinds of things that make people question, am I the one that's wrong maybe here? And in your heart you're not.
Yeah.
But just being aware of those and knowing the signs, so you're not trapped and you're not put into those situations, and you're able to maybe even counter and make it, become something good rather than escalating into something horrible.
Right.
Every 9 seconds in the United States, somebody is being abused. Every 9 seconds. That's horrendous.
It is horrendous.
And they know these statistics by hotlines and phone calls and emergency room visits and, everything that goes along with it, the police calls and reports and, and when you're in a abusive situation at that time, if there is a gun present, chances of a homicide have jumped to 94% because people snap.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be allowing to get to that snapping point.
Right.
There's no reason for it.
Right.
And awareness is what needs to be done.
Yeah. I'll make sure to list that in the show notes so that you guys can find it easier. If you can please share the show with your community, especially this episode. You can follow on whatever platform you listen on. You can also leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I am also newly listed on iHeartRadio. As always, go out and find the joy today. Bye, friends.